Hello all, welcome to Tech with SAS. In this video, we will talk about message queues. Message queues are used for the asynchronous communication. So, what is asynchronous communication? It basically means that whenever you want a response, maybe later, right? Yeah, I mean, you can't wait for response, so you send your request to the system, and it can process and send response later, and you are not waiting for it. Like for example, if you are doing some processing or some kind of ordering on an e-commerce site, you want a response right away, right? Like whatever order you have done, you want response right away. But for example, you are sending an email to your friend, but you just send email and forget about it. But you know that okay, whenever your friend is going to see the email, he will reply, right? So that communication is the asynchronous communication when a sender does not bother about response right away, but he knows that response will come eventually later time. Similarly, but when you want response right away, at that time you can't use message queues. At that time, you have to use the real-time communication, like that we call as a synchronous communication. So let us understand this by an example. So here we have two applications like application A and application B, and they are talking to each other using a message queue. So message queue is basically a kind of a system artifact or system component that will receive messages from application A and send to application B so that it can process. So, but app A will not wait for the response right away. Like for example, there's a message, right? Message means like any payload which has the data to be processed or like some headers which are part of message to identify it uniquely. You want to process. So application A will send message to the message queue, and then message queue is going to send the message to the application B. So now application A is not waiting for response. So that's how basically the system works, right? And then the application which is sending messages is called the producer application, and the machine or application which is going to process the message is called the consuming application or consumer, right? So whenever you have a producer consumer kind of scenario, and you can wait for response, right? At that time we can use the message queues for the basically the intermediary. So there are some very good benefits when when we are using the message queues, like decoupling, right? So suppose you wanted to use REST API between app and app B. So there might be some kind of a tight coupling because you have to share the contract and everything. And then, but when you are using the message queues, systems are decoupled. Even like don't understand like won't have an issue to talk to each other. Maybe app A is in Java and app B is in .NET, but they can communicate via message queue. So that is really a very important thing when we are using the message queues. Decoupling is a very important benefit when we are using this kind of setup. Second is the scalability. So suppose you want to process more and more requests, right? So at that time you can increase the depth of your queue, and also maybe you want to add more applications which can basically talk to each other. So at that time you can also add application C in this setup, and that can also use the same queue. So basically you can scale your application very easily because all the applications or whatever the queue are basically increasing in their own domain. They're not dependent on each other. So the scaling is a good benefit of message queues. And then suppose there are many messages in the queue, and but you want to process some messages as a priority, then you can assign the priority to those messages, and they can be processed immediately. So you can also define the priority limits or priority settings for the message queue, and that's how you can process those messages earlier. And then systems can evolve. It means that uh, suppose you want to revamp application A and you want to use MuleSoft, right? So you can do it. I mean, there is no compulsion. I mean, because like systems are decoupled and they can talk to the MQ, right? There is no hindrance when you want to scale or evolve your any application. You want to change any technology stack, whatever. It is very easy to do that. Even you can add new applications also which can talk to each other via the MQ here. So yeah, so now let us understand the messaging queue by an example of real world. For example, to understand the asynchronous communication, whenever we go to pizza shop, right? We go to front desk and place our order, but we don't wait for pizza to arrive at the same time because we know that it will take some time, so we move away from the counter and maybe sit down in the restaurant or maybe like watch our phone or some activity we can do. But we are not kept waiting at the front desk because it will take some processing time in the kitchen. So similarly, if there are other customers also coming for the pizza or their items, they will also place the request for their orders, right? So those will be going to kind of a database or maybe in the message queue, right? But the point here is that whatever request is coming out of the pizza shop, it is not being served right away, but it is being served in an asynchronous manner. Requests are being taken from the customers and they are acknowledged. Okay, your order is in processing, and whenever it is done, you are being notified. So the same concept is also applicable for messaging queues. Whenever we have any request coming for any resources, so it is not served right away, but it takes some time in the processing. After that, response is sent back to the customer or the requester. So now let us understand one typical example, like setup, like whenever we have the kind of a setup of the message queue, and then we have the like web server or the processing server. So whatever request will be coming to be front end web server. So now this web server will receive all the requests from the client, but it will not process them right away. It will persist these requests into the message queue, right? So, and then this message queue will store all these messages, and then it will send these messages to the backend server to process them, but not right away. So, depending upon the capacity or the performance of the backend server, it will send the messages to the processing server. And then when they are processed, the response is sent back to the client. So now in the whole process, client is just fired a request and stepped away. Maybe he is doing something else, but the processing is whenever it is done, they are being notified for that. So this is the basic concept of the messaging queues, and I think that's it for this video. Yeah, but like few implementations, like for example, RabbitMQ and Apache Kafka and JMS are the like most popular implementations of the message queue. So I will also make videos like how to set up and how to basically run this in a local system. But for now, I think we are good. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and also like you can please subscribe my channel if you like my videos and if they're adding any value to your knowledge kitty. And yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.